Okay. So a brief recap of what my co-presenter took last week. She spoke about Azure AD identity types, the users, the services, the devices, the managed identities. She also spoke about types of authentication method. She spoke about multi-factor authentication, which provides you with a second level of authentication. She spoke about Windows Hello for Business, that you can use a PIN or a biometric method to log into your device without your password. Also, to log into Office 365, you can use the Microsoft Authenticator app without you using your password. She also spoke about the SSPR, which is a self-service password reset tool that allows users to reset their password without any admin intervention. So users can reset their password on their own without calling any admin to come and help them to reset their password. She also spoke about conditional access. Conditional access is the allows you to set conditions that a particular user or a device should meet before they have access to a specific resource. So the user must be part of a specific group. The device must be Azure AD joined. The device must be Windows AD joined before it can have access to Office 365. That's how conditional access works. So today I'll be taking you on module 3. We have come so far in this session, this SC 900 fundamental session. Module 3 will be talking about the capabilities of Microsoft security solutions. So the module agenda will be discussing the basic security capabilities in Azure, the security management capabilities of Azure. We'll be talking about the security capabilities of Microsoft Sentinel, threat protection with Microsoft 365 Defender. We'll be describing the security management capabilities of Microsoft 365 and endpoint security with Microsoft Intune. So lesson 1 will be describing the basic security capabilities in Azure. So I believe that after we have completed lesson 1, you should be able to describe Azure security capabilities for protecting your network, how Azure can protect your VMs, and how encryption on Azure can protect your data. Currently, one of the major things that have happened during this COVID-19 is that we have remote workers everywhere. Now, people are working remotely, which gives attackers access to be able to exploit the network through RDP, that's Remote Desktop Protocol. So what RDP allows you to do is that you can connect to a specific machine without being there physically. So you want to connect to that machine, you want to be able to run some specific task, you want to be able to create some things on that particular machine. That's what RDP does for you, Remote Desktop Protocol. Now we have Azure Network Security Group. So I'll be explaining what that means. So basically, it's like a basic firewall. I'll be explaining also firewall in the next slide. So what it does is that it allows you to deny or allow a specific network traffic to and from your Azure resources. So what this means is that if you don't want RDP to be enabled or another specific port, maybe you don't want HTTP or HTTPS or SSH, depending on what you want to block, you use Azure Network Security Group to do that. So you create an inbound or an outbound rule. An inbound or an outbound rule means that inbound traffic coming into your network while the outbound is traffic going outside your network. So it allows you to create rules that is going to block that specific port to a specific IP address. And currently, when you create a virtual machine or a virtual resource on Azure, what happens is that RDP, which is port 3389, is enabled by default. It is on by default. So it is enabled to any network, meaning there's no specific IP address it is enabled for. So anyone can RDP to your network using the public IP address. So a network security group contains the following properties. We have the name you want to give it, the source or the destination, where it's going to, where it's coming from, the direction, whether it is inbound or it is outbound, the priority, which is from 100 to 400 and something. So if the priority is 100, it means it has the highest priority and is going to take over the one that maybe you have a deny rule now. You said deny RDP and you now have allow RDP. Now the deny RDP is carrying like a priority of 300 and the allow is carrying a priority of 101. What is going to take place? What is going to take effect? That's how it's going to work. The priority, the one with the highest priority takes effect. And then we have the protocols, we have the port ranges, the protocols, the UDP, TCP protocols, the port ranges, that's the IP addresses, like what particular port do you want it to accept? Do you want it to only accept RDP ports, or you want it to accept all the ports, meaning that your network is not secure? If it's accepting all the ports, attackers will surely get hold of your network. So I'll be showing you a demo, but before that, I want to talk about the next slide. So the next slide is we're talking about Azure DDoS protection. What is DDoS protection? So some of us that might have not heard of the distributed denial of service attack. What this means is that attackers will be running and they'll be pinging, or they'll be continuously trying to bombard a specific service. So when they are trying to do that, the service becomes unresponsive. So it could be a particular application, and they are continuously bombarding, running different scripts to make this particular resource or a particular application unavailable. That's what a DDoS attack means. So a DDoS attack could be a volumetric attack, which I just spoke about. It could also be a protocol attack, which is trying to target a specific protocol continuously to make sure that it is not available. So Azure DDoS protection now protects you. What it does is that it analyzes network traffic, and once it has detected that something that looks like a DDoS attack is happening, it discards it immediately. It protects you in real time. There's real-time protection. So once it detects that, it stops it. Nobody can come in, no attacker can come in to try and make your services unavailable. Then we have two tiers of the Azure DDoS protection. We have the basic and we have the standard. So what the basic gives us is it is automatically enabled actually. So if you have an Azure subscription, it is automatically enabled for every property in Azure. So what it does is that it has always on traffic monitoring. So it is doing real-time protection right now. It does not sleep. As long as you have services in Azure, it is on 24/7. Then the standard is quite expensive. So you want to provide extra capabilities. So that's what the standard will give you, extra capabilities, and then you have to purchase it. What is an Azure Firewall? Let me first of all explain what firewall is. I want you to understand that, okay, a firewall can be like, maybe you're going to a club now and there is a bouncer and there are already people inside that club, legitimate people in that club. And you that is coming, you might not have an invite. You might have an invite. So let's start with me not having an invite and I am going to a specific club and there is a bouncer there. The bouncer serves as the firewall. The bouncer is going to prevent me from coming into the club. Maybe I'm coming with a specific weapon now and I want to attack the people in that club. So the bouncer is there, the firewall, protecting the people in that club from me outside, the attacker. I might also be legitimate. So once it confirms that, okay, I have the invitation, it allows me in. So it filters people. The bouncer filters, okay, this person is legitimate, this person is not legitimate, the person coming in is not legitimate, the person coming in is legitimate. Also people inside too. Maybe someone had entered and is not legitimate. It also filters the person coming out. Are you legitimate? Were you supposed to be here before? That is how a firewall works. So similarly, an Azure Firewall works like that. And Azure Firewall and NSG, the difference between a network security group and Azure Firewall is that Azure Firewall has more features, while an NSG is like a basic firewall. It just allows you to create rules and all. But NSG doesn't do what they call filtering. It's filtering people like, okay, this person is not supposed to be, this person is supposed to be. NSG's job is just to block traffic, block a specific traffic. Azure Firewall filters and scans. This person is not, this person is this. That's how Azure Firewall works. It has built-in high availability and availability zones, meaning that it is available in different places. It's not just one. It can have a twin, a triplet. It can have itself in different places. It's not just one. So in case anything happens and where it is currently, it goes down, the twin will come up and take over. That's how Azure Firewall is. We have outbound source NATing and inbound source NATing. So it actually does what you call translation. So it translates your private IP. Your private IP are the IP addresses that are known in between your network. So it's private. Only your network knows those IP. So for instance, maybe I have a friend. This my friend, only me knows the friend's behavior. No one else knows the friend's behavior because I'm close to the friend. And then the what it does is that this outbound SNAT and inbound SNAT, what it does, it translates the public the private IP, the one that is known within the network and not known by anyone else, translates it to a public IP that every other person can access. That means that my friend puts up a front and not its real a real character that everybody knows. Maybe, oh, this friend is a very friendly person, but me that knows this friend is quiet. So that's what it does. It translates it to a public IP. Then it has threat intelligence, is intelligent enough to detect threats to using the filtering method. You can also use multiple public IPs in your Azure Firewall. It accepts multiple public IPs, so you're not just um, tied to only one public IP. Then it integrates with Azure Monitor. What that means is that Azure Monitor allows you to have a rich report of what is going on within your network. So if this firewall is integrating with Azure Monitor, it's going to give you a detailed, rich report that you can see and know that this is what is going on within your network. That's how Azure Firewall works. What is Azure Bastion? Like I mentioned previously, I said something about RDP in the beginning, that a lot of people use RDP ports and they are not secure. You have created Azure Network now, or Azure resources. So when you create this Azure Network, Azure virtual machines, these Azure virtual machines, they come with a public IP because you want to RDP to it. So in order to RDP to it, they must have a public IP because they are stored in a specific location. They are not next to you. So this public IP is what users will use to connect to that particular Azure virtual machine and run specific tasks. RDP is not secure. A lot of attackers are just waiting for the opportunity for you to use RDP and then gain access. You look for exploitation, look for loopholes in your remote connection and gain access. That's why you see different organizations, they don't leverage on the built-in RDP on their system that comes with Windows 10. So they use other RDP solutions, that's other remote connection solutions that are secured than using RDP. Because using RDP, there's no security there. Anyone can gain access through that way. We don't want that anymore. That's where Azure Bastion comes in place. So what Azure Bastion does is that it allows you to connect to your virtual machine through the web or through Azure portal. So you don't need to run the normal RDP application on your RDP connection application on your system. All you need to do is to go to Azure, click on the Azure Bastion that you have created, and then put in the address. That's the IP address and the username and password, and then connect. So that way you can also perform tasks, but you won't be using the RDP connection. So that's how Azure Bastion works. It has different features. So you have, it allows you to specify, you don't need to specify public IPs. You don't need to specify public IPs. Like I mentioned, the RDP, you need public IPs. So you don't need to think about specifying any public IP. You don't need to use any NSG. You know what NSG does? You want to block RDP, you want to block different ports. You want to block SMTP, you want to block SSH, you want to block HTTP. Azure Bastion, you don't need that. You don't need to put in any NSG. So it does real-time protection for you too. what is web application firewall? Similar to firewall, but this does protection, simply protection of your web applications. So it protects them against exploits and vulnerability. It does also filtering. So it tells you that this is not meant for this particular web application. So it denies access. That's how web application firewall works. What and how does Azure encrypt data? There are various types of encryption on Azure. So we'll be talking about 3 main types of encryption in Azure. We have the Azure Storage Service Encryption. So what Azure Storage Service Encryption does is that it protects your data before it is stored and automatically decrypts this data when you want to retrieve it. That's how Azure Storage Service Encryption works. So it makes use of Azure Storage, Azure Blob Storage, then Azure Disk Encryption. Most of us might be familiar with BitLocker because our organizations might be leveraging on Windows BitLocker using different tools. And a lot of tools make use of Windows BitLocker, which is the encryption methodology in your Windows. And for Linux machine is dmcrypt. So what Azure Disk Encryption does is that it leverages on the Windows BitLocker or your Linux dmcrypt and encrypts your Windows and Linux machine. Now we've been talking about Windows virtual machines. What about your applications? Your SQL applications, your databases, what about them? That's where the transparent data encryption comes in. It's like an encryption method that protects your SQL server or your applications against threats, protects them against SQL injections. So if I'm taking SQL, for instance, you want to protect your databases from SQL injection, you want to protect them from exploit. So the TDE, which is a transparent data encryption, allows you to encrypt data files in Azure SQL databases and other database technology. That's how encryption on Azure works. We also have the Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault allows you, instead of you going as an organization or a user making use of a key management system, you use Azure Key Vault. And Azure Key Vault allows you to manage and control access to encryption keys. So when you are done encrypting, where do you want to store these encryption keys? You don't want them to just be anywhere that someone can gain access and then decrypt your work book or whatever you're using to work, maybe your laptop or your disk or your application. You don't want them to get the encryption keys, get the decryption keys, and then decrypt it. We don't want that. So that's where Azure Key Vault comes in place, whereby Microsoft is saying that it's a recommended solution for you to manage and control access to encryption keys. Now, the Key Vault gives you secret management, key management, certificate management. The secret management, what it does is that it stores and protects tokens, passwords, certificates, AIP keys. So it allows you to store, manage, and control access to those things. While the key management allows you to store, manage, control access to encryption keys. The secret management is for tokens, passwords, your certificate, key management, encryption keys, and from the name certificate management allows you to protect access to certificates. So now I'm going to be showing you a bit of demo, which is the Azure Network Security Group. So just hold on while I share my screen. Okay, this time I'll be sharing my entire screen. Okay, for some of us that might not have an Azure account, I remember when we started this course, I mentioned that you needed a Microsoft 365 account. Now, you will also be needing an Azure account, which you can sign up for 30 days. So it's only going to take like $1 from your account. So it's going to give you $200 free Azure credit, where you can practice and work on things that like explore the Azure products, the resources on Azure. So I'm going to be copying this and pasting in the chat for us to leverage. Oh, okay. So Winnie says kindly differentiate between secret management and key management. Okay. So like I said, key management, what key management does is encryption keys. So when you have encrypted your storage, you have encrypted your Windows devices, you want to store them somewhere. That's what key management does. Allows you to control, manage, protect those encryption keys. It's basically for encryption keys. While the secret management, you want to store your passwords, your tokens, your AIP keys, your certificates. You want to store them somewhere. So maybe you have a username and password and you want to store that password. That's where secret management comes in place. Or you have a specific token that an application might be using. So that's basically the difference between the two of them. Keys for encryption keys, secrets for passwords, tokens, certificates. Okay, so I think I have pasted the link to sign up for your Azure.
Oh, sorry, my chat is not activated, so I can't actually chat.
Okay, now.
I can see you're chatting, but
Okay, Madam Joy, please can you help me look into that?
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it. It's strange too, because all right.
So you can see that this is how an NSG looks like, the network security group looks like. And I have if I have a specific IP address that I want to block, or a specific port, but now I want to allow or block all ports. So that's where the asterisk comes in. So asterisk means all. The destination, is it the same thing? I'm going to leave it as any. The service, I'm going to leave it as custom, because I did not specify exactly what I want to block. I just want to block. I want to block or allow everything. The destination port range, I can leave it at 8080. Protocols, like I mentioned, TCP, UDP, ICMP. What do you want it to do? You want it to allow or deny? The priorities, 100, like I said. The port name, let's go back to the slide. So we're in lesson 2. I don't know if anyone has any more questions. Does anyone have any question? You can't see my screen. Okay. Sorry about that. You can also hear me. Can anyone else hear me?
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so we're moving into lesson 2, which will tell us how to describe security management capabilities of Azure. So by the time we're done with lesson 2, you should be able to describe the security management capabilities of Azure, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and then the security posture management and the security baseline. So there are various Defender products that Microsoft has given to us, and then I'll be explaining that in the slide to come. But first, we'll be starting with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Microsoft Defender for Cloud is actually a combination of 2 different tools, which is the Azure Defender and Azure Security Center. Okay, so what Microsoft Defender does is, as a combination of those 2 different tools, is that it gives you a security posture. It tells you what are the things you are lacking in security based on your resources in Azure. And then it also provides you with protection. So if it detects that a specific resource is being, maybe an attacker is trying to run malicious attacks on that particular resource, it protects you. That's what Microsoft Defender for Cloud means. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud comes in 2 different features, which is the cloud security posture management and the cloud workload protection. So from the name cloud security posture management, what this gives you is like a combination of tools that tells you this is where you are in your organization in terms of your Azure resources, in terms of security. It just doesn't tell you this is where you are. It also tells you how you can implement different things so that you can get to a higher level of security, because we all know that there's no such thing as small security. You need, just as how attackers are advancing with their attacks, that is how security needs to be advanced too. you need to put in different security solutions to protect you. So that's what basically cloud security posture management does. So it gives you a detailed view of where you are, what you are meant to do, things you are supposed to put in place. And when you put those things in place, it also reruns and says, okay, you have actually done this. You have actually done this particular security fix in order to get to a specific security level. So the cloud workload protection, what this does is that it protects you, or it protects your cloud workloads. That's your SQL server, your virtual machine, your app services, basically your Azure resources. It protects them against malicious attack, against exploits. So while one gives you a detailed view of where you are in terms of security according to your Azure resources, the other one protects you from threats. So this is what I was talking about, the cloud security posture management. So this is a secure score that tells you what you're lacking in security. Monitoring agents should be installed on virtual machine skills. So this Microsoft Defender for Cloud also comes with an agent that you need to install on these your resources. And another thing is that you should note that it's not just for Azure virtual machines. You can also monitor your other types of machines, your other types of servers, and even your on-premise servers. So it's not just your cloud servers, your on-premise servers too, you can monitor them. You just need to install an agent. So once that agent is installed, it starts monitoring, finding out things that are going on, things that are loopholes, things that you are lacking. So it helps to do that. So here it's telling me that the monitoring agent has not been installed on some virtual machines, like maybe only 2 or 5 virtual machines are using it. So if I click on this quick fix, it's supposed to help me, take me to where I'm supposed to install these agents. System updates should be installed on my machine. So out of 39 machines, only one has updates, is updated, fully updated. And that is very, very bad, because updates also help you. Updates fix up bugs, fix up places, loopholes. Like maybe they release an update now, loopholes in your virtual machines, your specific machine. It helps to fix that. And now these machines are lacking updates. So it's telling you that you need to install updates. Now, the one that has even installed updates has not restarted for the update to take place. So it's telling you that that's basically how Microsoft Defender for Cloud works. So I'm going to be showing you a demo on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Really sorry, I keep sharing. Let me just share my entire screen. Okay, so if you can see my screen, let me just hold on. Okay, so if you can see my screen, this is Microsoft Defender for Cloud. When I click on it, this is the secure score that I was talking about. So if I click on this secure score, I click on my subscription. I don't have MFA enabled. It's telling me that my data are not encrypted and I have resources. It's telling me that I don't have audit and login enabled in my logic apps. It's telling me that. So basically it tells me where I'm lacking and what to do. Okay. So I don't currently have a workload that I'm protecting. They are no longer existing actually. So, but if I wanted to protect any workload, I come to this workload protection. And then let's go to security alerts. Just like it tells me what's lacking, it also gives me alerts, things that it has discovered that, okay, there's a specific suspicious activity that is taking place in my resource and now generates this alert. So it tells me according to the severity. So if the alert is seriously critical, it tells me high. And then when I click on this alert, I click on view details. If I want to take action, I click on take action. So according to this alert, it's telling me if WordPress is installed, make sure that the application is up to date and updated. So it looks like it might not be up to date. And that's why attackers are using that method to gain access to my resource. I think that is basically okay. Okay, so if we come to regulatory compliance,
Hello, Akwe.
hello.
Sorry to cut you short. Please, is there any way we can enlarge the screen? If we can't see what you are doing.
Oh, let's see if I can just zoom. Okay. What about now?
A little bit.
Maybe you also want to like use the full screen on Teams. Okay, so this regulatory compliance, you need to meet certain compliance body. You know, we have different compliance body and organizations. Some organizations need to meet those compliance rules. So here we see the compliance rules that we need to take, or where we are lacking in terms of compliance and the things that we need to do in order to meet these compliance rules that have been set for us by the regulatory compliance body. So if we come here, we expand where we are not meeting the requirements. So right here now, it's just one place that we are not meeting the requirements. Function apps should only be as what to do to improve your security, the security of your workload. Like I mentioned, when you go to that secure score, you see where you are lacking, and you don't just see where you are lacking, you see recommendations on how to fix this flaw, these things that you have not put in place. That's what security baseline basically means. So there are different security baselines. There's the Azure security baselines for Azure Active Directory that tells you recommendations on what to put. Like when you saw that part telling me to enable MFA, that's for the Azure Active Directory. MFA has nothing to do with the Azure virtual machine or other Azure resources. So it's basically for Azure Active Directory, the recommendations. We have the Azure security baseline for Azure Firewall. Tells me that I'm supposed to block this, I'm supposed to this, I'm supposed to that. And then the Azure security baseline for Microsoft Defender for Cloud also tells you where you're supposed to apply different security recommendations. Let's talk about Azure Sentinel. Some of us might be familiar with some SIEM solution. So Azure Sentinel is not just a SIEM solution, it's also a SOA solution and an XDR solution. So a SIEM solution basically is a security incident and event manager. That what it does is collect data from different sources. So Azure Sentinel, which is the solution that Microsoft has provided to achieve the SIEM, the SOA, and the XDR. So it collects data from different plugins. You are not just limited to Microsoft solution. If you want to collect logs or data from Sophos, you can connect to it. If you want to connect from Cisco Firewall, you can collect that. So you are not limited to just Microsoft solutions. So the SIEM solution would collect different data. Now it just doesn't collect this data. That's where we talk about the SOA, which is the security orchestration automated response. It analyzes this data that it has collected. When it analyzes it, it immediately creates workflows that will make you know that, okay, give you alerts that this has taken place, that has taken place, a specific action has taken place, and now gives you XDR after automating response, after automating an alert telling you that something has gone, something has taken place. It brings you to the XDR. The XDR, Microsoft Sentinel, doesn't just work alone. It integrates with various Microsoft Defender solutions, meaning it integrates with Microsoft Defender for endpoint to be able to respond to these events, respond to these alerts, respond to the things that it has noted that has taken place. So if it has analyzed these logs, collected these logs, it detects that from those logs, it detects that an attacker is trying to run a specific application, and then this specific application is supposed to cause havoc on your devices. Once it detects that, it creates an alert, alerting you that, immediately creating an alert, alerting you that this thing wants to cause havoc to your device. The XDR that is integrated with Microsoft Defender for endpoint now comes in place and stops this alert, stops this threat. Not just Microsoft Defender, and helps you to minimize false positive. So in my organization now, there are certain people. Let me give an example. We have the identity protection. What identity protection tool does is that it protects you against risky signing and risky users, meaning that users that are signing in from a location that is not trusted, it blocks them. That's what it does. Now there can be false positives and a lot of false positive, meaning the user might not be signing in from an untrusted location, but it detects that the user is signing in from an untrusted location. The user might just change device and somehow change network. It might not be using a VPN. Change network, and it detects it and then blocks this user from accessing the company's resource immediately. So those are false positive alerts. Now, with Microsoft Sentinel, it will prevent you, it will minimize the amount of false positive. You won't be getting them the way you have been getting them previously so much. It's going to be low. It also does investigation. So it investigates, tells you the root cause, what exactly went on, which service it affected, where it was trying to go to, what it was trying to do. That is how Microsoft Sentinel works. And once it has detected what it has and what the particular attack is trying to do, it responds immediately, responds rapidly, and stops that attack. So there are various Microsoft Sentinel tools or Microsoft Sentinel terminologies that you need to also know. We have the workbook. What the workbook does is that it connects with Azure Monitor. Like I mentioned previously about Azure Monitor, what the workbook does is that it gives you, monitors the data and also gives you a report, a rich report of that data, telling you this what has gone on. Just basically a report. While the playbook, what it does is that it is responsible for automation. It is like a logic app. So what logic app does is automation and workflow. Automation and workflow, it automates a specific process. So playbooks also do that. They automate a specific process. If so and so has met this specific condition, now send an alert that it has met this condition. That's what it means. Microsoft Sentinel also does investigation, does hunting. Like I said, it integrates with threat protection, which is the Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Defender for endpoint, and Microsoft Defender for cloud integration. Okay. So it's cut across every single Azure and Microsoft 365 solution. So I'm going to be showing you, I don't know if you can still see my screen on my screen. So I'm going to be showing you a demo on Microsoft Sentinel. So before you actually start managing or start using Microsoft Sentinel, you need to create a workspace. So this workspace allows connection, allows you to do the connection of different data sources. That's what this workspace allows. So once you create the workspace, you can start using Microsoft Sentinel. So I'm clicking on the workspace that I created. First of all, when you want to start using Microsoft Sentinel, you need to connect the data that you want to get, that data source that you want to get syslog agent configuration. After this has been done, so once I am done connecting my data source, I can go to incidents now. It's going to tell me what it has detected. I've not really done anything in the last 24 hours, so I'm going to do what I have done in the last 30 days, for instance. Now, I hope this thing is big enough for everyone to see. Yeah. Let me just search for or so this tool was trying to run and cause havoc in my test machine here, which is the entity. So if I click on this, let me scroll down and click investigate. So this is like a diagram telling you what has tried to go on in this test machine. This is my test machine 3. Suspicious activities, NetPass Act 2. Oh, sorry, let me hide this. Mimikatz, So if I click on the Mimikatz that I was talking about, make sure the machine is completely updated. The status is resolved. This is because during the period that this was taking place, like I mentioned, that Microsoft Sentinel integrates with Microsoft Defender for endpoint. And this particular test machine is an endpoint. A device is an endpoint. So this test machine was being scanned by Microsoft Defender for endpoint. And when it discovered this particular threat, it didn't waste any time and started resolving it and tried as much as possible to stop this threat from wreaking havoc. It also tells you the full threat name. It tells you where it was detected, which I said the Microsoft Defender antivirus. That's the Microsoft Defender for endpoint, which leverages on the Microsoft Defender antivirus that is on your device. So once it detected it, stopped this alert. And it stopped this threat immediately. So you can get that in the info. Entities tells you the test machine that was affected. If it was a specific user, it's also going to be under these entities too. So it also tells you it's not just credential theft tools that was done. There was a NetPass act to DOS. Once you are done, you go to entities, find out who it affected, come to insights. So if there are insights, you see the insights there and you find out what has gone on. Okay. That's one thing that is very beautiful about these Microsoft tools. It integrates with themselves. So there's no problem of going to set up server. You want to integrate this, you want to integrate that, you want to know. They are all integrated together. This recommendation right here, you will see it in securitycenter.microsoft.com. I think my internet is very unstable. Okay, so I can also click on anyone that I want to look into. Any threat or any event or incident I want to look into, just view the full details, investigate, find out what has gone on. So that's how Microsoft Sentinel looks. That's how to leverage on it. I don't want to go beyond this class because this is actually the basic class, and then in the advanced class you'll be getting how you can do advanced threat hunting. So advanced threat hunting, I don't want to confuse you. Advanced threat hunting, you get to use a specific language, which is the coastal query language, and then you get more insights to these threats. But right now, advanced threat hunting is way too advanced for this class, so we won't be taking that. Okay, so we're in lesson 4. We describe the threat protection with Microsoft 365 Defender services. Microsoft 365 Defender services, we have Microsoft 365 Defender for different platforms. We have for the identity, we have for the endpoint, we have for the apps, and we have for the email collaboration. The identity, what it does is that it does behavioral analysis. Behavioral analysis to detect and monitor. It doesn't do preventing, just detect and monitor. Endpoint, detect, monitor, respond. We have for the apps, detect, monitor, respond. Emails, detect, monitor, respond. So the identity is only one that only does monitor and detection. Each of these Microsoft Defender tools are integrated. So I'll be talking about them. I'll be taking each of them one by one so you understand better. They are each integrated with each other to get logs to support themselves. Let's take Microsoft Defender for identity. Like I said, what Microsoft Defender for identity basically does is that it monitors every monitors objects in your network. So it will connect to your Active Directory with the on-premise or the Cloud Active Directory. For instance, now let me give you an example. I have been signing into my machine called Ope Machine 1. I have been signing into this Ope Machine 1 for the past 10 days now, or even 5 days. Continuously, Ope Machine 1, Ope Machine 1, Ope Machine 1, from morning till night, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then, all of a sudden, on the 6th day, Ope is no longer signing into Ope Machine 1. Ope is now signing into server 2. From where? It's going to detect this change in behavior. Ope Machine 1, it knows that Ope Machine 1, Ope has been signing into Ope Machine 1 since. So all of a sudden, why is Ope signing into server 1? It needs to find out. It needs to also alert the admin that, wait, Ope has been signing into Ope Machine 1 for these days now, and then all of a sudden, Ope is signing to server 1. Suspicious activity must be taking place. Then if it was, that's why the admin, once it gets this alert, needs to confirm from Ope if she's the one that signed in and for what purpose. So now if maybe they gave Ope a task and Ope was supposed to sign into that server 1 during that period, now you can say it's like, okay, it's like a false positive. Maybe Ope was actually supposed to sign into that server 1 during that period of time. If Ope now denies that she's not the one that signed into server 1, then it calls for action. That's how Microsoft Defender for identity works. It uses behavioral analysis and machine learning capabilities to monitor and to detect and also to send alerts to your admins that this is what has gone on. It tells you if there's someone trying to gain access to your credentials. It tells you, if it detects that, it tells you someone that is trying to gain access to your password, your credentials. It tells you that someone that is trying to do elevation, which is it wants to, all of a sudden, the attacker gains access to Ope's machine. Now he wants to do privilege escalation, which means that he has gained access to already with using Ope's account. Ope is not an admin. He's not satisfied. What am I going to do with Ope's account? Nothing. So with Ope's account, he now tries to gain access, scans the network, scans whatever is going on, and finds a way to do privilege escalation, looking for how he can upgrade to use an admin account, find one admin account that is exploitable, and from Okpe, it gains access to admin 1. That is the attacker's goal. Microsoft Defender does that. It investigates that, it detects that, and it sends it to the admin in real time. Doesn't waste time. Once it detects this, you get an alert immediately. That's how Microsoft Defender for identity simply works. What is Microsoft Defender for Office 365? I'm going to give you an example. I am sending a mail, maybe not, okay, let me not say me, I'm sending the mail now. Let me say a girl named Ruth is trying to send an email to me. This email contains a specific link. This particular link contains a malicious attack. So if I click on this link, immediately things start downloading on my system. What Microsoft Defender for Office 365 does is that it scans this link. It scans this link in your Office Word Outlook. It scans this link. It scans attachments too. This attachment is not supposed to. It contains malicious attack. So if you are sending it, it's going to cause havoc or wreak havoc in your organization. You don't want that. That's how Microsoft Defender for Office 365 works. So Microsoft Defender for Office 365 covers your Office 365 applications. Identity has to do with your users, your objects. So you don't mistake them. Now, the Microsoft Defender for Office 365, what I just explained now is the safe attachments and the safe links. There's also what you call the anti-phishing protection. We know what phishing means. I think I explained that in Module 1, what phishing means. They are trying to send, like for instance, they send you a mail using legitimate a domain, or it looks like it's coming from a legitimate address, email address. That's what phishing does. When you now click on it, they now gain access to your credentials. So what Microsoft Defender for Office 365 does is that it protects you against that. You also get attack simulators. What attack simulator does is that fish threats. I don't know if you have heard of a solution called fish threats. So what attack simulator does is that it allows you to simulate fish threats as if they are actually happening in your organization. So it allows you to now act like an attacker. So you send, and this also promotes user awareness. So there are some users that might not read mails, and it's difficult for them. They find it difficult to be looking into details. They see mail from okpe@hashem.com, but this Hashem now does not have an hyphen, and they not even notice that part. They just see the Hashem together, hashem.com or okpe@hashem.com, and I know this Okpe, she's my friend. Let me click on this particular email. It doesn't work like that. That's why you need user awareness. That's why this attack simulator comes in place. So when you do this attack simulator, you test threats to your users and see who is susceptible to this attack. You know this particular user, this user is not educated enough in terms of security to know that this particular email is coming from an attacker. It looks like it's coming from Okpe, but it's not coming from Okpe. So with that, when you find out the users that are susceptible to this attack, then you now introduce a training telling them that you were not supposed to click on this. Like Microsoft actually sends a training when they fall victim to this attack and tells them that you are supposed to notice every single thing in this mail, read thoroughly, and see that this is not from this specific user. That's what attack simulator does. We get automated investigation and response too. Once it detects it, it blocks. I don't know if for some of us that might not have been using Microsoft Defender, I use Microsoft Defender for Office 365 in my organization. So before, there's this option of if you wanted to send the mail before the attachment and later send the mail with the attachment after it has scanned. There's another option that you want the attachment to come in, but when you click on this attachment, it tells you scan in progress. So when the mail comes in with the attachment, it tells you scan in progress, meaning it is scanning. And this scan in progress doesn't take time, it takes seconds, telling you that it's trying to scan for any malicious attack or any malicious thing that might be attached to that attachment. And we have various plans. We have the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 Plan 1, Plan 2. The Plan 1 gives you the safe attachment, safe links, safe attachments for SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, anti-phishing protection, real-time detection. Now, if you get the Plan 2, you get everything in Plan 1, plus these ones here, the Threat Tracker, the Threat Explorer, the automated investigation and response, the attack simulator. Then we have the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 availability, which comes in these plans: Microsoft 365 E5, Office 365 E5, Office 365 A5, and Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Identity for user objects. Office 365, Office 365 apps. From the name endpoint, you should know what endpoint is. What the endpoint that Microsoft Defender for Endpoint does is that it detects, investigates, and responds to threats, to malicious activities. It gives you threats and vulnerability management, managing your threats, and immediately applying the necessary action. We have attack surface reduction. We want to be able to create rules that will also protect us. We don't want users to use USB. We don't want users to go to a specific link on the web. We don't want users to use Bluetooth. We don't want users to be able to use certain things, or you don't want the user to be able to access a specific application or access our documents in a specific application. That's what attack surface reduction helps you to do. Next generation protection gives you basically endpoint detection and response, automatic investigation and remediation. And we have Microsoft threat experts working every single day trying to find ways to mitigate all these threats. That's how Microsoft Defender for Endpoint works. Lastly, we have Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, which was called Cloud App Security. Now it's called, so Microsoft recently changed it to Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. So what this Cloud App does, that's Microsoft Defender for Cloud App does, is that it protects you against shadow IT applications. For those of us that might have not joined in the first module, I mentioned what shadow IT application means, that applications that your organizations did not allow. So you might be running Spotify is not allowed. It discovers that and controls and stops that. You create rules to stop that and stop them from running Spotify. It protects your sensitive information anywhere. There's something called Azure Information Protection. So Cloud App Security allows you to protect your documents, your sensitive information, detect the sensitive information, and apply protection to them. That's what basically Azure Information Protection does: classify, protect, and apply labels. So if it discovers that this particular document contains a credit card information, it might not even be a credit card information. Your employee ID, your employee information is considered as a sensitive information. You don't want that to just get into the wrong hands. Cloud App Security is the tool for you. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, app is the tool for you. And then you have it allows you to it protects you against cyber threats and anomalies. This tool is so wide because it does a lot of things. It is available for your data, available for your identity, available for your devices. So it's not just, and available for your users. It's not just it cuts across every platform. So you know that there are some tools that just focus on one particular platform, like the other Microsoft Defender. Now this focuses on identity. This focuses on Office 365 apps, application. This focuses on your endpoint, that's your devices. Where this Cloud App Security focuses on all of them combined. We are not just limited to one particular platform. That's how Cloud App Security works. Okay, so I'll be showing you a demo on Cloud App Security. So before I do that, let's move to lesson 5. Okay. We have the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Microsoft 365 Defender portal combines protection, detection, investigation, and response to email, collaboration, identity, devices in a central portal. So you have a portal that gives you incidents and alerts, hunting, action center, threat analytics, secure scores, tells you where you are as an organization in terms of security. Incident and alerts tells you what has gone on, what it has discovered in your organization. Threat hunting, advanced threat hunting, you want to dig down to find out what has gone on. It gives you reports, it gives you permissions and rules where you can give specific permissions to your users to be able to manage security. That's the manage the Microsoft 365 Defender tools. So it gives you ability to view your security health, ability to configure your devices, users, and application, and get alerts for suspicious activity. So in the Microsoft Defender portal, we have the Microsoft Secure Score. I don't think I need to spend so much time explaining what Secure Score is. We already know that it gives us a brief, it gives us a detailed look into our security posture, a detailed look into where we are in terms of security, our score. We are 16.75. That means we have not really done anything in our organization. And the actions to take. That's the recommendations, like I mentioned previously. So it supports recommendation for Microsoft 365, Azure Active Directory, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So if it sees that you are running a specific application that is not supposed to be allowed in your organization, it tells you in the recommendation, block this application. If it sees that you have not turned on risky user signing, turn on this risky user signing to protect your users or protect your organization from users that are being compromised. If it sees that this particular device is corrupt or something happened in the device, it sees that maybe you are currently using USB, for instance, in this device, and this USB is a means of exploits that attackers can use to exploit your organization. It tells you that. So it just gives you basic recommendation of what you're supposed to take or what you're supposed to do in your organization in terms of security. So you're not just left alone. This even helps security admins. So some security admins, they might have done a lot of things in their organization. Okay, I've done this, I've done that, but they are not still secured. Attackers are still finding different means to gain access to the organization, and this security admin doesn't know what is going on and is confused, and there's pressure from his boss, there's pressure from the MD, from the owner of the organization, from the IT boss that what exactly are you doing? What are you doing? You're not helping us. Attackers are still gaining access. They are using different means to gain access. What exactly are you doing? That's why this Microsoft Secure Score is very important. So this security admin would have his mind at rest. No more sleepless nights trying to figure out what he's supposed to do, what he has not done in his organization. So it will tell him what he's supposed to do and how to achieve it. Not just telling you now. You want to see how you can do this, how to turn on this, how to turn off that, how to block this application, how to enable MFA, different things. It tells you how to do it. So you are not left alone as a security admin. I'm also going to show you the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Okay, so security reports and dashboard, which is also a component that you're going to see on the Microsoft 365 Defender. So the security report gives you reports on different platforms, your identities, your data, your devices, your apps. So for instance, user activity. So and so user signed into this place. So and so user signed in to this machine and accessed this particular what's the name document, or he signed into this machine and sent a specific email, signed into this machine, used Office 365 apps. So I'm basically explaining each of them, what the logs or the alerts or the report you'll be getting. This particular user Ope, signed into Outlook, sent a mail containing a sensitive information document, sent a mail using a laptop to another user. So it cuts across all the platform, identity, data, devices, and application. You get reports that this is what your users are doing, this is what your devices, this is the average number of devices that might be compromised, things like that. It gives you a rich report on your Microsoft Defender. Incident and incident management. When a specific incident has taken place, you get an alert. Once you get an alert, this alert is sent to the admin. Once the admin gets this alert, it just doesn't send this alert. So it also does what you call response to this incident. Module 6, Intune. Now I've been mentioning how to manage your Azure solutions, how to protect your Azure workloads, how to protect your data, how to protect your endpoint, how to protect your identity, how to protect different things. But how do you protect your data and applications on users' devices? Especially now that right now everybody is doing BYOD, which is bring your own device, whatever device they are comfortable using. As if, for instance, a user, the MD of the organization says, I don't want to use the laptop that they gave me now, I want to use my iPad. How do you manage the data on that iPad? That's the company's information on that iPad. How do you manage it? So that's where Intune comes in place. Intune is a cloud-based solution that does mobile device management and mobile application management. I know this is all a lot to take in. Mobile device management. What mobile device management means is that you have total control of that device. It's a company-owned device. It doesn't belong to you as a user. It belongs to the company. Now, the company wants to have total control of this device, pushing in policies, Wi-Fi policies, VPN policies, doing a total reset of the device. That's factory reset of the device. They want to be able to manage not just the application, but the device itself. That's what MDM means. That's the mobile device management. While the mobile application management, what it does is that it only manages the data and application on user's personal device. MAM is for users that have their personal devices, but they want to be able to use the company's or access the company's resource on their device, which is easier for them. Want to promote user productivity and at the same time make life easier for them. At the same time, protect the company's information. We don't want it to get into the wrong hands. And we know some users now, what's easy for them is that they like to share our data through WhatsApp. Instead of using sending mail, you just carry this data now, and this data is a sensitive information. They carry this data, send it to someone on WhatsApp. Who says WhatsApp is secure? From there, anybody can gain access to this information. We want to prevent that. We want to prevent users from doing that, sending to their personal Gmail, personal Outlook. We want to restrict only send companies information to only allowed and protected applications. That's where MAM comes in place. Mobile application management. And it only does what you call selective wipe. So it doesn't do factory reset, but wipes off the information of the company on your device. So maybe you have enrolled now, you are sharing the company's information. What if you leave the company tomorrow? When you leave the company tomorrow, the company is worried that how do they stop you from maybe trying to send the different means, trying to send the company information, or you're still accessing the company information, you're no longer in the company again. You want to stop that. That's where the selective wipe comes in. What the company needs to do, go to Intune, click on selective wipe, select the user's device, and it wipes off only the organization's data. And once it has wiped off the organization's data, the account that you have that the user had access to before, maybe the admin has changed the password or the admin has blocked the account. If the user now tries that, I want to sign into the company, even if I've left, let me just spy. They cannot do anything like that again, because when you have changed the password, you have either blocked the user and now you have wiped off the information. They can't see anything again. That's how MAM works. So note that MDM, total control of the device, and it's for company-owned device, while MAM is not total control of the device, just the application. That's a corporate application on the device, and it is personally owned, user personally owned device. So don't be worried that the company is trying to sell or the organization is seeing your information. Organization doesn't see any information. They are only concerned about the organization's data. Me as an Intune administrator in my company, I can't see if this particular person, that's one of the users' fears now. I can't see if this particular person is sending a chat to someone on WhatsApp. I can't see that. That's none of my business. There's privacy, there's user privacy. Even the application, that's the Intune online portal, you would not see such information. You can't see that unless you are running a remote connection to that device. Maybe that's when you can see it. But on a normal day, if you go to Intune, you cannot see the user's personal data too. You don't have access to that. So users should not worry about that. It's only concerned about the organization's data on your mobile device. You're not just restricted to mobile device too. Intune also manages personal laptops. So you might have personal laptops that maybe some users that like to use what's the name of this Apple device, like the Apple laptop, and they don't want to use Windows. So, but you want to manage the company's information on that device. You enroll and you manage it. So they are not allowed to send companies' data on their personal device or send companies' data on their to their personal email or personal social platform. So what Intune also helps you to do, Intune provides you with endpoint security. It allows you to manage these devices, by creating policies to manage this device. Like I said, you want to push a specific Wi-Fi settings. Maybe your organization said, and this is a company-owned device now, so I need to be clear on that. This is a company-owned device now, and the organization said that they want this user or every user to use particular Wi-Fi. So they push a Wi-Fi profile to your device and manage this particular Wi-Fi. So these users are not allowed to use any other Wi-Fi, but that Wi-Fi email, you want to push a specific email configuration to the device too, you can do that. So that's what Intune helps you to do. You want to also deploy applications. So it's not just managing these applications or devices. You want to deploy applications to your users' devices. Maybe you want your users to start using Python or something else, maybe another application, 7-zip, like a WinZip. You want to deploy it. You can use the Intune to deploy organization-wide. So it allows you to also deploy application, allows you to manage devices, put in policies to restrict these devices. Also, it allows you to do what you call device compliance policy. So the device must meet a specific compliance settings before they can be marked as compliant. So if this device is jailbroken, which is blocked by default, it's not supposed to allow. That means if you have allowed developer option, you have broken your device, you are now using developers option, which is, there's basically no more security. That's the OEM security has left the device because you have enabled that. Now you can do things in your device, configure things in your device, but it now opens your device to exploitation. You want to block such devices from entering our organization or accessing the organization's data. That's where compliance policy comes in place. And then we have role-based access control. You want to be able to manage the specific roles that the specific user is supposed to have to manage Intune. We also have conditional access, device-based conditional access, and app-based conditional access. Conditional access, basically, do you want this particular user, if the user is not marked as compliant on Intune, do you want this particular device to have access to your organization's data? Do you want it should show blocked if the person is trying to go to Outlook on the web, or it should show blocked if the person is trying to launch the Outlook with the organization's email address and this device is not compliant? You should not just allow the person. That's what conditional access allows you to do. Or if it allows you to meet your users or devices to meet a specific condition. If this user is not part of a specific group, now you have a specific group that you want only this group to have access to Dynamics 365. If, for instance, now Ope is part of the group that is supposed to have access to Dynamics 365, and there's root. Now, root, you don't want root to have access. Root will sign into Dynamics 365 out of curiosity, and she will be seeing the blocked because she doesn't have access. That's how conditional access works. Conditions must be met before you have access to a specific resource. And Intune also, like I said, Microsoft solutions are integrated with each other. They are connected. Intune also integrates with Microsoft Defender for endpoints, which I just spoke about previously, that allows you to put in certain policies. So Intune can allow you to create those policies to block USB, block an application, block a URL, things like that. Intune can help you allow. Can also help you to configure BitLocker policies too, in case you want to encrypt your devices. Intune can help you do that too. Intune can also help you to do administrative templates. For some of us that might have Active Directory in our organization, that's the Windows Active Directory, and want to be able to, and want to configure group policies. Intune also gives you what you will see in your group policies, you see them in administrative templates on Intune. So if you want to deploy that, you can make use of it. So for companies also that may be using, they don't have a local Active Directory and they are just making use of Azure AD Premium, they can use, and their devices are joined to Azure AD, they can use Intune to push policies to these devices that look like group policies. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you a demo on the Intune on Microsoft 365 Defender portal and Cloud App Security. Okay. Yep. This is actually the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. The Microsoft Defender Security Center. securitycenter.microsoft.com. You can see active alerts showing here in the dashboard that these tools, the NetPass hack tool, the Power Exploit tool, just the attacks that we had already seen previously in Azure Sentinel. You come here, you see automated investigation. As if an investigation has gone, has taken place. Okay, let me do not 1 week, 30 days. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry. This is actually the Microsoft Defender for Endpoints portal. Okay, so you can see the investigation that took place. See how long the investigation took. This is 10 minutes. It took 10 minutes to investigate, but it had already put in remediation. It tells you the particular device that they tried to access, tells you what tool that they used to do the exploitation, the entities affected. So if I click on the files, the processes, the services, the drivers, the IP addresses, I'm supposed to see that. Let me click on entities here. Can you see on my screen right now? These are the files that you try to affect. So if this tool, there was no Microsoft Defender for endpoint, all these 1,365 files would have been affected. And if there was no antivirus to stop it, it would have been affected. All these processes would have been affected. If this amount of processes are affected, how would you have access to the device again? And now it just doesn't stop at this. It takes you to another device, does all this again. So basically, all the devices in the network is compromised. So it prevented all these processes from being affected. These are the services that it would have affected too. It prevented them. Your audios would have been affected. Your bits, that's the background intelligence transfer, which helps you to minimize bandwidth, would have been affected. Basically, a lot of services would have been affected. Drivers that you have even installed would have been affected. IP addresses. These are the IP addresses that it's trying to use. Persistent methods. So it was even trying to go through your registry too. So that's why I said basically everything in your device is going to be affected. Registry is a very critical part of your device. So you don't just go to registry and start editing things. You need to be careful with registry, because if you edit anything that will scatter your device, that's the end. And now it wants to start editing all this registry and stop you from accessing your device. So you see the detailed view we are seeing right now. These are the logs. It was quarantined before investigation. Immediately, it stops it from communicating with any other machine. First step. Then start investigating. Get list of active action files, finds files that is trying to affect, get process list, classify IP addresses that is coming from, things like that. You get with the Microsoft Defender for endpoint. Another thing I want to also tell you is that for people that might just try the trial, like you want to see how it works and you go ahead and sign up for the trial, you have something called what is it? It gives you recommendations, security recommendations. You see that no matter the security portal you are going to, you still get the recommendations that you need. So in case it's not giving you a specific, it's not giving you just one particular portal to go to. You might go to one portal and you get security recommendation. You now go to the next portal and you're like, I need to go to the next portal to go and check again. You don't need to do that. You get it in almost all the security portals, telling you what you need to do. Under here, we have the evaluation lab, like I spoke about, that if you want to try, you want to sign up for the trial, you can come here and create simulations. So there are various simulations you can create. So if you go to simulation gallery, simulation means that you are testing it out, like how is it going to work out in a production environment, but now you're in a test environment. So this simulation, you test different threats to fictitious machines. These machines are connected to Microsoft Defender. When it detects, the Microsoft Defender for endpoint detects these threats that you are trying out, they are testing, it will come and log it in incidents and alerts. So that's how it basically works. And weaknesses too. It tells you your weakness in your organization. Any weakness that's discovered or vulnerability, it tells you. You can also come to settings here. That's where the integration comes in. You can integrate your other security solutions offboard and onboard. So you do this when you want to deploy policies. That's Microsoft 365 Defender for endpoint policies. For us that might have forgotten what I mentioned about the policies blocking USB, Bluetooth. So you come here, you download this onboarding package, go and install it on those devices, onboard them. Once you onboard them, it starts managing that device. When you start managing the device, then you will see it under device inventory. When you start managing this device, you can now deploy those policies to prevent attacks. Now let me go to the Intune portal, which is the endpoint.microsoft.com. So this is the Intune company portal. I'm sorry, the Intune portal. You come here and you need to download, each device needs to download an application in order to be managed by Intune. This application is called Intune Company Portal. So for the devices is called, that's your laptop, is called company portal, and for Android, iOS, that's your mobile devices, it's called Intune company portal. So you download this particular agent or this particular app, and then you enroll your device to be managed by Intune. So once these devices are managed by Intune, then you start creating compliance policies. So if I come here, I want to create compliance policies. I don't want to talk too much and confuse you because you're still in the basic class. So if I come here, I create compliance policies for different applications. I don't want jailbroken devices to have access. That's how I create compliance policies. I want to create configuration profiles, like I mentioned. I want to create Wi-Fi profiles, VPN profiles. I want to also even do BitLocker configuration. I want to encrypt devices. I come here. I can also manage updates on those devices. Come here, click on updates, update ring, create updates, and push and deploy updates to these devices. And I come here to apps. You're not just managing devices now, you want to manage apps. You add the applications from their respective stores. If you want to add from Google Play, you want to add from iOS store, Microsoft store, you come here, add the applications. After adding the applications, you want to protect these applications. You come here, create protection policies. So what these protection policies contain is that you don't want to allow certain, you want to restrict, put in some restrictions, you don't want to allow certain things when users are trying to share the organization's data. So you don't want them to be able to take screenshots with their phones of the organization's data. Please note, I'm not talking about screenshot of any other thing in their phone, but when they have launched the application on their organization, the application that corporate application, and they're accessing the corporate data, it's not going to allow them to take screenshots. So if they go back to WhatsApp and they open WhatsApp, they can take the screenshot. That's how it works. Then you don't want to do copy and paste. You only want to limit copy and paste to manage the application. That's protected applications, applications that you have signed in with your company's username and password. But if it is your Outlook, your personal Outlook, you cannot copy. For instance, Okwe at Outlook and Okwe at Hashem. Okwe cannot copy Hashem's things from Hashem's email to Okwe at Outlook. It's going to block it. That's where you create application protection policies. You don't want also to download the company's data on their device, like store it on their device. You want it to be available on OneDrive. Let them be using it on OneDrive. You can also do Microsoft Office apps too with Intune. So basically, Intune does a lot of things. It gives you reports, it gives you detailed reports. Just like I said, it integrates with Microsoft Defender for endpoint. That's where endpoint security comes in place. Yep. Now let me go to the last demo I'm going to be showing you today, so that we can be able to take everything I've said in cloud portal.cloud appsecurity.com. I think this is the portal. Okay, so this is the Cloud Apps security. That's Microsoft Defender for Cloud App Portal. You go to portal.cloudappsecurity.com and then you sign in. You come to discover. If you have any threats, it will see it. Investigate, come to activities, you select a specific application, select the user that you want to discover the activities. You select the activity, select the IP address. I don't think I have connected my other Microsoft solutions to it. Okay, so you come here to policies. You want to create policies to block this, to block that. You see the shadow IT application policy I mentioned briefly. Click on create policy. Threat detection, click on create policies. In the advanced class, you'll be creating all these policies. Then information protection, you click on create policies to create policies that will monitor and prevent sensitive information. I come here, I can click on settings because I've not integrated some things. That's why we cannot really see them. I've not deployed Microsoft Defender for identity in my organization. Show identity protection. So I come here, let me add the connector. Can come here and add other connectors. Sorry. Microsoft Azure. So once I've added the connectors, I can see loads events from this. So it's going to take time. So I don't need to waste time waiting for it. So I've shown you where you can create policies to prevent all these things. You can even come here and create conditional access policies. You can create conditional access policies on in Tune Portal. You can create conditional, if you are taking notes, you can create conditional access policies on Azure AD, and you can also create them on Cloud App Security. You know, I mentioned that Cloud App Security basically gives you everything combined. Your threat detection, your information protection, identities, your devices. Create different policies. And here you can get alerts. You can create policy alerts, activity policies, which would talk about users' activities. It will give you detailed alerts on users' activities. File policies, you want to know users are accessing this particular file, they shared this particular file. You get information like that on this Cloud App Security. Okay, so that's how Cloud App Security works. So I'm going to be taking questions. I don't know if you have any more questions for me, please kindly ask before we end this class? So any questions? Anyone? Okay. Please, Winnie, you can ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this class. So I actually left the questions in the chat box. So maybe I'll just ask directly. One of the questions I asked was that or one of the things that I asked was that you kindly run us through how it tends to work. Because we are talking about the Microsoft Defender and that you have to install software for it to start running, and then you mentioned agents. So I didn't quite get that. Besides that, I would also like for you to talk about how they use BitLocker to, I don't know if you said encrypt systems. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so for the first question, the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. In your organization, the agent is not needed. The agent that I'm talking about, that's the onboarding agent, comes in place when you want to deploy policies. As far as you want to monitor and do immediate remediation of threats that it has discovered, as long as the user is signed in. So everything in Microsoft has to do with your username and password. So the organization, any policies that you get is based on the organization that your username and password carries. So if you have Windows Defender on your device, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and you have signed up for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, you have bought the license, it uses Windows Defender, your built-in Windows Defender, to remediate threats, to scan for these threats and to protect you. But if you want to go further by pushing policies, that's where you need to introduce the agent, which is the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint agent. It's a very tiny agent. It's not something you would see. You just run a command and then immediately it is monitoring your device. So once you run that command, the agent is being installed. You don't see the agent anywhere. It's not like an agent that you will see Word now, like an application. It's not a visible thing. You just need to run that command for it to use and then deploy policies. So when you deploy policies, it will immediately apply. But if you are not onboarding, you won't be able to apply this policy. All it will be doing is monitoring. But you want to do further protection. That's where the small, little, tiny agent comes in place. So that's the answer for your first question. I think your second question, please, can you remind me again your second question?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking about BitLocker.
Encryption, okay. Is it in the beginning or the BitLocker for Intune, the one I mentioned when I was talking about Intune?
Yeah, I think you mentioned BitLocker more than once today. So I'll just
Okay, so
generally, or like what it does generally.
Okay, so what BitLocker does is that it encrypts your devices. So your device, that's your disk, encrypts your disks, your devices, that it will protect it, block it from being accessed by someone that is not you. So if you enable BitLocker, if it is turned on in your organization, you'll be required to put in a specific PIN. The PIN can be 6 digits or 8 digits, or depending on what you put as an organization. So for instance, my PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If someone else is trying to put on my system, it's going to ask you in the beginning, before your system boots, like when you just press the power button, the first thing is going to show is enter your BitLocker PIN. So you enter that 1, 2, 3, 4. If someone else that maybe stole your device now, the person stole your device and is now trying to enter your device, if the person doesn't know that your PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the person cannot access this device. So that's how BitLocker works. It allows you to set in PIN and encrypt your device so that no one else can access it except you. Now, if you now forget your PIN, there's something called the recovery key. Just like there's an encryption key, there's a decryption key, and there's a recovery key. So the recovery key, what it does is that if you forget your PIN and you want to decrypt your device, you want to enter your device, so maybe you have so many passwords in your head, so many pins in your head, you now turn on your device and you don't remember your PIN again, you meet the admin, or you go and look for your decryption key, that's your recovery key, somewhere you have saved. So you meet the admin, for instance, maybe when you have done it with Intune, if you are deploying with Intune, you meet the admin gives you the decryption key, you sign in back, and you're asked to change your encryption key. That's how BitLocker works. Is an encryption technology on your Microsoft devices that a lot of BitLocker, that's a lot of encryption solution leverage on. So it might not even be Microsoft you're using to deploy your BitLocker now or your encryption. You might be using Sophos. Sophos leverages on the BitLocker. So the BitLocker is the technology on your device. It comes with every device. Maybe I should show you. Let me share my screen. Just hold on. I'm sharing my screen. If I want to access BitLocker, I go to Control Panel on my device. When I open Control Panel, you see what this is? BitLocker Drive Encryption. If I turn it on here, I put in my password. Sorry. So I put in my password to launch it. The next step is telling me, do I want to save to Azure AD? Do I want to save to a file, or do I want to print the recovery key? So if I do that, whatever option I choose, I don't want to encrypt my device right now. So whatever option I choose will take me to the process of putting a PIN. I set the PIN. That PIN is what, when I put on my device, is going to ask me for. So that's how the BitLocker encryption works. That's what BitLocker encryption means. And if you are now using different solutions to deploy it, Intune can deploy BitLocker encryption to your devices and manage the recovery key. So you don't want it that it's only you that knows the recovery key. What if you not even lose the recovery key that you have saved inside your USB or saved somewhere? What if you lose it? What happens? You don't have access to it anymore. Your device is gone. That's why you introduce a BitLocker management solution, which Intune is one of them. Allows you to manage the BitLocker on your device, the encryption on your device, manage the recovery key, and so on. You can also leverage on another solution, which is the Sophos, and many other BitLocker solutions that you want to use in your organization. So I don't know if that answers your question.
As part of a corporate-based European Union was invited to the virtual NATO meeting. At the same time, EU foreign ministers.
Okay. Okay, so any more questions from anyone? Okay, so if no one has any more questions, that will be the end of our class today. And from next week, we'll be having the fourth module. So then, and the last module actually, the fourth and the last module. So please join us same time next week for the fourth module. I don't know if my co-presenter. Oh, okay. Winnie, you have another question?
Yes, please. Yes, please. So sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask.
You wanted to ask?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I lost connection in between. So I wanted to ask. I want to say that, like, the first meeting we had where we made clarifications about each of the training lines, like each of the classes. So they mentioned that we'll be able to take maybe one of the certifications or something. So I don't know. Is Textiler going to guide us on that, like provide us with the link to the exam we need to do, or maybe if we need to pay for that and all those kinds?
Over to you, Madam Joy. Please, can you help me take this question? Okay. Hello, Madam Joy. Okay, so it seems like she's not available. Okay, so I would like to get back to you on that information. So once I get back to once I get the information, I'll paste it on the chat. You can currently see the chat, right? You have access to the chat.
Yeah, I do have access to it.
Yeah, so I will paste it in the chat so you see it. I would answer your question.
Thank you.
So will that be all? Okay, so that will bring us to the end of the class. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Meet us same time next week, the last session and the fourth module. I hope you have learned a lot, and I hope you continue learning more as we continue. Thank you very much. So bye everyone. Bye.